Thank you, Deanna. Thank you, Jane. Um,
E aloha aku, aloha mai, e aloha, e aloha, e aloha i ke akua. E ike aku, e ike mai, e ike, e ike, e ike, ike akua. E malama aku, e malama mai, e malama, e malama, e malama ike akua. E kokua aku, e kokua mai, e kokua, e kokua, e kokua ike akua. E aloha, e aloha, e aloha ike akua.
Thank you. Story behind that song?
Yes. So it says, E aloha aku, e aloha mai. You give your love, your compassion, your being. By giving, it comes back. And it doesn't come back directly from the individuals, it comes in many, many ways. Um, e ike aku, e ike mai, which is knowledge is given, then knowledge is received. Most importantly is I see, that's Ike, is I see with my own eyes, and therefore others see you. So our actions are really, really important, because even though you're doing one thing and people are watching you and it doesn't add up, that can be really, really difficult to do. And then it says malama, care for. I give my care out. I take care, just like care for the land, and then the land comes and takes care of you. Malama mai. And then in the last, I said kokua aku. You help. Yeah. So we're not necessarily asking, but we're living what we're seeking to receive. So you help others, therefore it comes back to you. This is what our tradition in Hawaii is all about. This is why I was interested to hear what everyone has to say and asking for help. And a lot of it is just knowing for yourself what you truly need to do, and living it is what is most importantly, versus saying it, because your actions are better than your words. And that's what this song is sort of alluding to. There's many, many facets of the song, but it always says that in the tradition is you always give. You always go this way versus do this first and then give. Yeah, so you don't take before you give. You got to give everything. So everything that you have, if you only have a quarter, you only can give a quarter. That's all that is. And that's why it's important to know what you have, knowing your kupuna, knowing your aumakua, by name is the most important thing. And aumakua is that realm that you see between the ocean and the sky. Of course, that was during the time when they said that the world was flat. But when you look at it, you can see the difference. We know that it goes round. But when you see it, that period of time, that's au. And that au is when the physical has not journeyed up to the spirit. So they just remain in that time, that lag time. And then the makua is the guardian. So those are the ones that are connected up there, but they're still here. And they don't have to be an elder, they can be a child. And a child that is born and dies becomes an aumakua. They just don't know what they're doing, but they are guided in that way. So that's what an aumakua is. And many of our people, they like the strong ones. Of course, everybody wants the strong ones. And the strong ones are like the sharks. Native Indian, they want the bears and all of those big ones. But in Hawaiian, we have the lizard. The lizard is an aumakua. The spider is an aumakua. The the butterfly is also an aumakua. So they have all different important qualities that we don't connect with because we want the wild ones, So I'm excited because I have both of them. We have my mother's side is the turtle, and my father's side is the bird, the pueo, the owl. So got two of them that helps to guide us here. So I'm excited. And it's not just any pueo, it's not just any turtle, it's just one of them. Yeah. So that's what you got to really pay attention to. Like if you say you're the shark, your amaku is the shark, and there's a whole slew of sharks, you just don't jump in because you don't know if your amaku is in there. So you'll be eaten. But that's what the song talks about. Mahalo for asking.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
explaining and giving such a great explanation of the music and the song. So many people hear the words, don't know, hear the music, like the music, but don't know the story
Mm.
behind. I'm Randy. When I get up in the morning, I ask for the simple thing: get me through my day in kindness and to be an inspiration to others. But I also ask for that divine guidance above. How just give me guidance on the things that are in my life and help me be a good person around others. Give back, like you said. So perfect. We're going to go move on to miracles and ordinaries. Here you get a chance to talk about the things that are miracles in your life, ordinaries that are happen, and it's open to anyone. I'm going to put the microphone right up here and let you just come up as you wish. Here comes Kaimana.
Hi, nice to see everyone again. So, a lot of changes been happening in my life. Back in like October, November last year, I was in meditation, prayer, whatever you want to call it, and I got a whole download about what was going to happen to me and the world and everything. So anyway, so I knew I was about to move from my house, so I let Pasha know, let the community know that I would have to step back from what I was doing here. Um, and then sure enough, the house sold. And I looked for a place here, and I actually found a place through Gene, a friend of Gene's. Um, there was a place, and it was a 3-story house. And when I went to look at that house, the first thing Spirit was like, "Hey, ain't gonna be good in an earthquake." And I was like, "An earthquake?" And they're like, "Yeah, there's gonna be an earthquake soon." And I was like, "Oh." And then she was like, "Well, you can only stay here for 2 weeks." And I was like, "What?" And then Spirit was like, "It's okay." So, and that's the real one I wanted to kind of share about is when Spirit's like, it's okay. Like I've been seeing all these things that like it happens and I think, oh my God, that like, and it's like, no, Spirit's like, it's okay. Like this is what's supposed to happen. I'm seeing more and more. I don't know if this is something that happens as you get older, but the more I experience life, the more I'm just like, oh, okay, this is what's happening. It's okay. So, just to kind of full circle on that, I am now living with my mom as a 65-year-old man, and it's a challenge. I mean, I love my mom, and my mom loves me, but we have really different political and spiritual beliefs, and that comes into play a lot. Now, the other thing that Spirit has done, which is kind of an interesting twist of fate, is my mom can't hear anything, but she's never been a good listener. So I just want to apologize in my community for being a poor listener. I'm working on it. And so Spirit has put me with my mom to kind of see like, oh, this is what I got when I was a little child. And this is where I'm coming from. And I'm so grateful for all of it. And I'm finding this whole other level of compassion, right? To recognize that that's a path we all walk. And she's not as much here as she was. And, I've had to tell her that that happens to all of us. I'm not how I was in my 20s. I don't know about the rest of you, but so and it's been, I can tell it's like a challenge for her of giving up control. And that's the final thing I just want to say to everybody is just do it. Just give up control because spirit has got this.
You. Mhm.
Candy.
I'm not that tall. I'm short. And in the same line, um, what I was really experiencing during the earthquake is it's okay. You know, all the whole house is all broken and a lot of glass to clean up, but it's okay. Survived and go on to help others if I can. And having that creator as a remind me that see the light side of things, the sense of humor. Coyote gets in there. So one big heavy dresser one fall off my deck. Turn around backwards. So I cannot pick it up easy. Need two big strapping guys. But on the top of my dresser, one had two really fragile glass things. And fell off, of course, onto the rocks. They're fine. Nothing wrong. Pretty funny.
Aloha. On that same note, the that same evening, I had this little Kwanyan who last big earthquake, I came home and she was on a pile of all this stuff. She was fine. And as I was putting things in my little window there, I went, "Oh, Kwanyan, I'm going to move you so if there's an earthquake, you will fall into the garlic bowl of garlic cloves instead of this glass plate. I'm moving this glass plate." And in the middle, I forgot all about that, but she's fine. She fell into the garlic. And I was so amazed what broke, what didn't break. I made a little, um, I used to do clay for a living, and I made a little a lighthouse for my mom. She loved anything nautical. And it's been through a few earthquakes and it falls to the ground and it never breaks. I'm like, wow, you're amazing. But it's clay. But just how just the amazingness of even glass to not break. Yeah, I had and then things broke into a million pieces too. But I was just like one wall, I had a painting fly 7 feet, and but the other wall, nothing. So it's just kind of interesting how the earth, how the mana, how the earth shook, and I'm so grateful. I'm sorry for anyone who might have got hurt at all, but I don't think there was any deaths that I know of. And so what a miracle, yeah, that we nobody got like wiped out. We all got shook up. And what it reminded me, we are so fragile as humans. We're so fragile on this planet. Yet we're also so blessed that we are still here and get to talk about it. And remember what really matters is our lives and our love. So I'm really grateful.
So I'm Leah, and I don't own cats, but I have cats. And I was sitting on my bed watching TV, and I have the TV on the wall that has, the kind of bracket that you can swing it out away from the wall. So when everything shook, the cats woke up and panicked and flew into the air in 15 directions. One of them got my arm, but thank God my door was open. So out they went, and I just sat there. I just somehow knew, just stay still. And things flew off the wall, broken glass everywhere, and a big heavy bookcase at the foot of my bed that press board went over, and all the books everywhere, and a file cabinet, 4-drawer press board fell on its face and broke, and other dressers fell over, and art fell. But I just, even though I was scared, I just somehow knew, no, just sit here. It's going to stop. And then the blessing, asking for help. knowing to ask for help and being okay with asking for help. I couldn't access my bathroom because of where the furniture was. So after I got the glass cleaned up, I knew I'd need the restroom overnight. And I happened to live in Charlie Hua's house. So there's a Jack and Jill door and I can access the other half of the house. How easy was that? Another miracle, right? And they were busy cleaning up all the glass on that side of the house. And the next morning I called a friend, strong friend. I said, help. So to be able to reach out to community, he came and righted the furniture and still getting it cleaned up. But the thing that's so lovely that we all have, hopefully we all have, is community, friends that we can say, I need help. I can't seem to do it myself, whether it's the inside jobs or the muscle jobs or whatever kind of thing it is. We need support, assistance, understanding, just someone to listen, right? When you have an issue. This morning I got a flat tire. I'm driving out the driveway and I hear thump, thump, thump. Oh, okay, just park it. And so I had friends to call to give me a ride here. So the blessings abound, and I go right to gratitude for, depending on how I'm looking at it, right? Whatever it is, that challenge in front of me, whatever that thing is that I'm looking at, how can I see it differently? I love the quote from Max Planck. When I change the way I look at things, the things I look at change. And I recently did a journey, and I was asking a question of, why can't that, whatever that is, be sooner? When's it going to happen? When's whatever? And I heard a very clear message. Patience, my dear.
So welcome. I'm Randy, and the Kona lows happened, and at my house we had a lot of things blow away and get all kind of wiped out. And he was talking about family and friends. We were able to tap into family, and on a couple of weeks after the Kona lows, we had 4 or 5 family members over. We had a gazebo that completely blew 20 feet over into the next property. And so we were able to, instead of taking all that and tearing it down, we were able to take that, rebuild it, drop it back on. And then right about the same time, my one buddy decided he's going to move to the mainland and sell his beautiful house down in Keala. And I was like, maybe so we jumped in and started getting my house ready for sale to try to catch up to my buddy and see if we could sell my house and buy his house. That may or may not happen because you can't be attached to the outcome. That's something I'm going to tell you straight up is you can't be attached to the outcome. Put the energy out there and just don't be attached to the outcome. Wish for a certain outcome, but don't be attached. And so that may or may not happen. But in the whole scheme of that, worked really, really hard, got my house, all the things that I never did before are done. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. I've got a bunch of stuff in the storage unit. So when the earthquake happened, there's nothing to fall. There's nothing to break. There's almost nothing in my house. It's all bins waiting to get moved. And I'm still not attached to the outcome if my house sells beautiful. It's only been up on the market for a week, but I already had people come look at it. But I'm not attached to the outcome. I could be happy to stay where I'm at. So I just say thank you for friends, thank you for family and the people that help us. When we need them, you make that call and you have, 5, 6 people show up and go, I'm ready to help. So thank you so much.
Well, I have a story about being attached to the outcome. To be attached.
I totally
And it's a really, really interesting story when we're not able to make things happen but we can ask for help. Yeah. So recently we lost one of our kupuna elders, and she was a very powerful elder, very well known in Kona, and she was in life care. And I went to visit because I'm very crazy busy, but I went to visit, and students been telling me, oh, Kumu, auntie's not speaking anymore. And I said, okay, let me go see. So I went. We celebrated her. We had her birthday. I think she's 86, 87 when she passed. And all I was told was she wants to go home. She wants to go home. And it's really, really helpful to not speak about not being ready in the front of them because they already know, right? Their destiny was to stay there in that life care. And so when I went and I said, "What, Auntie, let's come home." And all she did was she just sort of let out air and she just said, "Ah." And I said, "Auntie, we're going to take you home." She said, "Nothing." So, it was really a struggle for she's a distant cousin, my father's cousin, because her mother married my father's great uncle. So it's far down in the generation that we're connected. But I know Auntie for a very long time. And so when you ask for help, it's really, really looking that everything comes in its perspective. So I didn't want to say right there in front of Auntie's daughter, bring Auntie to my house because we're not that close. We're close, but we're not that close. Whereas my friend, that's her cousin, her first cousin. So I told her, bring Auntie home. She goes, "What, Kiala?" Just bring her to my house. She'll be fine. Just we're gonna let her know that she's coming to my house. So of course, hospice. We didn't get hospice till Thursday. But my friend went. I cleaned my house. We got the bed in to the room of my house. And on Tuesday, she was brought home to the house. And you could see how peaceful she was. And this is why I'm saying we're attaching to the outcome is that she felt she was at home. And this is why it's really, really important that we honor the wishes of our elders. Well, at least we try to. When things are possible, we receive the help. And so when she came, she was very peaceful. We sang. I went to continue my classes, and this beautiful wind came when we were doing hula. We finished, and the wind and the rain came. And I said, "Okay, Auntie's gone now." And that moment, I got a phone call. It said, "Keala, Auntie left already." And I said, "Yes, I know. She came to my place, to the health center, to say goodbye." And so we went back home, and we think by doing the right thing, you have to call everyone and say, "Okay, Auntie has passed." And without hospice, don't do it. With hospice, you're able to keep them with you. Without hospice, it's considered homicide. So they have to come and take pictures and do everything, and they had to remove her. And so it was really, really nice that they were very respectful, and we were able to sing for Auntie. And I think the miracle or the ordinary is that you listen. She came, she knew she was at home, and she left. And so it was something that I wanted my cousin's cousin to really, really feel that she accomplished by bringing her home. And this is where it's really, really important on asking for help, seeking the help, and of course, honoring the outcome and attaching ourselves to the outcome because we brought her home. She passed, and now she's in ashes at her home, and she's living the best life she has right now. So helping is really, really important, and knowing your journey is also very important. So just wanted to share that with everybody. Mahalo nui.
Introduction. You do a song?
Yes, sure.
Go ahead.
Yes, sure. E aloha mai ke akua ya mako a e ho o mai ka i mai ho i Yamako Aeho Malamalamalamai O Namakam Yamako O Namakam Yamako. Thank you.
So this is Kumu. This is Kumu Keala. He's an educator. He's a composer. He's a songwriter and a Kumu hula. He grew up on the island of Oahu. He began his hula training at a very young age. It says at 6 months. That's what it says. No, it doesn't say that. After many years learning and training and building his knowledge, he graduated in the Uniki rites to become a Kumu hula. He serves as Kumu for several halau, including 2 in Japan and 1 in Switzerland. And Kumu Keala has been a practitioner of Ho'oponopono since 1999. For people that don't know, what is Ho'oponopono?
Ho'oponopono, in the words, it says ho'o is to, like act upon something, to seek out, to really make it all work. And pono is either right or righteous. So when you ho'opono, you have to make what is right, what is pono. You make what is right, right. You don't make what is wrong, right. So in Ho'oponopono, that's called conflict resolution and in mediation.
Yeah,
but in
mediation.
Ho'oponopono, it's aligning to make what is right, right once again. That's what Ho'oponopono is. And it's a really interesting process that has been diluted in many, many ways to today. So today we know Ho'oponopono as a conflict resolution, whereas in the days, Ho'oponopono is to make sure that what is right is right. And that's an important concept to really, really decolonize ourselves, our minds, to understand it.
That helps. I went through Ho'oponopono and I was like, so what is this? And they said conflict resolution.
Yeah, no.
DOE.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after he went to University of Hawaii at Manoa, he got a degree in early childhood education. He got a master's degree from Chaminade University, and he's fluent in the Hawaiian language. That's where I met him. He's taking your class many, many years ago down at the school. He's the co-founder of executive director of the foundation, Navai Iwi Kaola. And he's taught Keki and served in other capacities for several schools in the Kona area. And he's been a vice principal at Kalakahi Elementary since 2024. And vice principal. Yeah.
Shout out to all my kids. They always say, Kumu, I see you on YouTube. And I goes, what am I doing?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, that's what kids do to you, exactly. Or like they say, oh, I went to the airport and you're on the airport wall.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wait a minute, that's you on the airport wall. Like, oh, wow.
That's what they tell me now. Kumu, I saw you in the airport. Tell him to go home.
Yeah, you're standing right there.
Tell him to go home.
In the tile. I'm like, wow. And so and he teaches hula classes. And I just saw Monthly Talk Story. I've been at the under the new moon at the Outrigger down in Keho. That was just last Tuesday. We were down there, played music. It was a lot of fun. And this is, so help me welcome Kumu Keala.
Aloha mai kaulana ku kila ke au pua ke au loloa ke au I ke kai ma lino kai ma oki pa ulu mai lau ino kamakani o eka I ka ho ino I kanani o hualalai ka wahine o hawa I loa a nei ho malu Kua nei ka palaua I pu'uhau. O pu'uhau, pu'u ai nā o kōna. Kapalilua o mauna loa kaulana mauna kahewai I ke kai. Au aku au mai I ka pu o puhau. I ka hoi no haleki. Ke ala o ke aku. Kuana o nalo. Kanaka o ko leo ia wahi hale. Hale o la I ako kwa mai la hui no. Na kanaka o ia wahi ai. No ke aloha o ke aku. He iha o I mai la o au ke ala. He wahi mahalo nui. E aloha aloha mai. Aloha. So I was like, okay, what am I going to talk about? So all the exciting, wonderful things that has happened within the past month. I'm heading over to in April, headed over to Tahiti. It was really, really fascinating to go to Tahiti. And when I go to Tahiti, I go and visit a lot of they call it marae. And a marae is like a heiau. And I love going there. And one of the wonderful things that I find that there's big trees in these marais, big of big trees in this heiau. And so last year I went to visit one in Huahine, and there's this big tree. It's like a banyan tree, and it kind of crawled all over to this heiau or the marae. And so I told all of the guests who took me on the tour, and I said, "You haven't been here for almost 202 years." They looked at me and said, "How do you know that, Kumu?" And I said, "You see this tree? This tree is 202 years old." Said, "Well, how can you tell?" And I said, "These temples were forgotten when the missionaries arrived. When the missionaries arrived into our islands, you never went back to these temples because back in Hawaii, there's no trees growing out of our temples. If you see a tree, you pull it out in the temple. And so you haven't come to this temple. This tree is so large because if you were here, you would have pulled that tree out." So then this year I went to Raiatea, to Tapu Tapu Atea, which is a very, very significant heiau to the navigational canoes. And so there's this huge tree, almost 200 years old looking, a really, really big banyan tree, and it reaches over this Tapu Tapu Atea, the name of the marae. And so the storyteller, I asked her, because I said, "Where are you from?" And she said, "Oh, I'm from Papaete." I said, "Oh, what brought you here to Raiatea?" My daughter, my daughter moved and she said to come and live with her. And I said, "Oh, so you talk stories in Papaete?" And I goes, "Yes." And so now you've been here 5 years and now you share stories about Raiatea. Yes. So I said, "Oh." And to me, I said, "Oh, I'm on a puka shell tour guide." If you know what a puka shell tour guide is, they tell you all the pukas in the stories. That's the puka shell tour guide. So she said to me when we went to the marae, to the heiau, and she said, in the old days when the ali'i, they pass to the next realm, their spirits would journey up upon this tree and they would go into the leaves and watch upon the heiau. And I said, "What?" I said, "Really?" And she said, yes. And I said, okay, because I already told her, right? These trees, all these trees that you see in this marae, they were here because none of our people went to the marae to pull them out. I said, because other marais, there's no trees on this marae. And they said, no, that was for the shade. And then I had to give her, you know, back about 40 years ago, the sun wasn't as brutal as it is today. Today it's really bad. But even 30 years ago, we used to run all up on the beach. We didn't have to put no sunscreen because the sun was very, very forgiving. Now imagine 60 years ago. I goes, our people walked around naked. They didn't have to worry about getting skin lesions and cancer. But now it's hot. So I said, that tree is about 150 years old. I said, nobody came to this place. And until the Va'a Hokulea came down to Tahiti, this is when this Tapu Tapu Atea started to come alive. And I said, so these trees are markers as to when our people stop coming to these temples. So she never said anything after that. And then she wanted to tell me about this. I'm trying to think what is the flower's name. It's an A. I want to say apatahi. Apatahi is this flower, and there was a flower that came from Papaete, and Hiro is the chief or this warrior that came, and he had to come to Papaete to gather this gift and to carry this gift all the way to Huahine, no Raiatea. There in Raiatea, gave it to the princess or the queen, and she received this flower. It's a very small white petaled purple stem flower, and it resides only in Raiatea. And I said, oh, that's really cute because in Hawaii we have the same flower. And they said, no, 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 it's only here. I goes, no, 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 no. I bet you, I told her, I bet you that this flower that you're talking about has 5 petals. And she goes, yes, it does. It does have 5 petals. I said, well, in Hawaii, it's called Naupaka Kuahivi. And she said, you have it? I goes, yes, it's up in our mountains. And it's the Naupaka Kuahivi. And in fact, you have the other half down on the shoreline. We do? And I goes, yes, you do. So that was my Pukashel tour guide story. And so our host at Huahine asked us, Kuma, what flower are you talking about? So just so happened we were down by the ocean and there was the naupaka. So I went to pick the naupaka and I said, this is the naupaka kahakai because it has 5 petals and it's on the ocean side. The other half is up in the mountain. We have the naupaka kuahivi. And she said, really, Kumo? I goes, yes, we do. You do as well. So that was my kind of conclusion on my Pukasha tour guide over there in Raya Tea. Then we went on and we continued to go to all the different heiaus. And it was very, very nice to see that they are interested because they said, Kumu, we want you to meet one of our elders. And I said, I would love to. So we went. I was able to meet her. She was all excited and she wanted to come and sit with me. And so I did. Almost towards the ending of our trip, we sat and we talked. And she really honored this Japanese man. I totally forgot his name, or else I would have shared it. But he was a researcher from Manoa, and he went over to Tahiti to learn all these different marais, and he inspired them to bring them back to life. And she was a very young woman when she was with this professor. And at the time of his death, he looked at her and said, "You have to perpetuate it." So, my big question is, how are you perpetuating this? Because the heiaus still look the same. There's no changes. The story is not being told. What are you doing? And then she said, "Oh, it's such hard work." And I goes, "Yeah, it is hard work. But you have to step up. You have to bring this information to the children. Because if the children don't understand this knowledge, it will die." So she said, "Well, what else would you like to know?" "I don't know. Tell me about your hale over here." So she stood up and she took me and she shared about this beautiful house. And I kind of felt like she was giving me a puka shell tour guide story as well, because this house was built right on the ocean. So, of course, I say, "Why is it built right on the ocean?" "Oh, Kumo, we don't have outhouses." And I said, "Okay, got it. You just go right over there and you just use your bathroom and then you're all good, right?" So I said, and I knew that wasn't the story, but it was the puka shell tour guide story, right? And then she takes me to this one image. And on this image, there's petroglyphs, several different petroglyphs. And on one of them, there were seven of them, seven petroglyphs, all located in a certain formation. So I looked at her and I said, "You see that?" She said, "Yes." I goes, "That's the Pleiades." She said, "What, Kumu?" He said, "That's the Pleiades. This heiau, this stone belongs on the Makahiki, the heiau for the Makahiki." She said, "No." I goes, "Yes, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You count." So she counted seven. I said, "That's Pleiades. In Hawaii, it's the Makali'i. In Tahiti, it's Matahiti." And she said, "Yes, Kumu." And I said, "How long you been here?" "This is my first time, Kumu. I learned what you just told me." And I said, "Oh, for real?" "Yes, Kumu." I said, "Oh, okay." So we started to continue to talk, talk, talk. And then last year, I spoke to the woman that took me on the tour. And I said, "What are the names of the gods in Tahitian?" So she tells me of this one god. His name is Oro. So Oro, I goes, "Yeah, Oro in the Hawaiian concept is the god Ku." And so you have Oro and Ku. And Ku is the masculine god. Yeah. So one of the gods, of course, we know is of King Kamehameha's god is Ku Kailimoku, the god that takes land. And that's how Kamehameha the Great was able to unify the islands up to Oahu, because Kauai and Niihau, it was gifted to Kamehameha. So he didn't conquer them. Well, this was the image of Ku, very masculine. So when she was telling me about the Oro, the god Oro, and I said, "Okay, share with me about Oro." Oro is a masculine god, and only the men are connected to Oro. I said, "What? You believe that?" "Yes, Kumu. It's been told to us through traditions." And I goes, "Well, I have to tell you something, that you as a Wahine have Oro as well." She said, "No, Kumu, no, I cannot." I goes, "Yes." I said, "Oro is a energy. that both male and female have. And this oro is important to you women. Hence, this island is called Huahine. Huahine is a woman. I said, and now you're telling me that Huahine wasn't oro? She goes, no, Kumo. Oro is only male. And I goes, no, 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 no. Oro is that masculine energy that even you have. Really, Kumo? And he goes, yes. I said, listen, when I started chanting, I chanted to greet you, to greet the kupuna of this place. And you came back and you started to chant. And your chant wasn't so soft. Your chant was strong. That is Oro. She said, Kumu, I'm going to tell everyone that Kumu Keala said, I have Oro. And I said, yes, you do. Because back in Hawaii, King Kamehameha the Great had a fleet of women warriors. And he knew that the women were as masculine as their men. And the key is that they all knew their place. This is where it's very, very important. And so I had to tell her, I said, is you see that little house you guys go to every Sunday? That's the one when you go change your mind. I said, I'm not saying it's not a good house. I'm saying to open up your mind. So she said, how, Kumu? I said, okay, who was the man that went and fed his people on the hill? What man? The one that told his disciples to go out and feed my people. But he said, I only have one fish and one bread. And he said to go out and feed them. She said, Jesus. Well, in Hawaii, his name is Lono. Lono Ikamakahiki. Lono Ikamakahiki was the one that nurtures the land so that we are able to receive all these wonderful gifts from the land so that the land can feed the people. His name is Lono Ikamakahiki, which is Jesus. And then I said, and who is the one that walk on water? She looks at me, she said, Kumu. And I goes, no, no, no. This is the church telling you who walked on water. Jesus. I said, well, all of these gods walked on water because they all traveled on the canoe. And when the canoe is so far away, you cannot tell that these men are walking on water. I said, but other than that, we have the god Kanaloa, and Kanaloa is of the ocean, and he walks in the water. So she said, oh, wow, Kumufor. I goes, I'm not saying it's a bad house. I'm saying it's a house for us to understand. And we have to understand that there's no difference. And I said, why did you think us Polynesians were very quickly converted into Christianity? Because the words were different, but we were doing the same thing. I said, when they saw us dancing to Tutupele, they said, oh my gosh, you're honoring the fire goddess. I said, Tutupele is a mother of many generations. So we honor her by dancing to her because the Bible says, honor thy mother and thy father. So it's the same thing, but they're telling you otherwise. So she looked at me and said, Kumu, I've learned so much just by sitting with you. So here's my stories. I want to say thank you. I'm thinking we're almost done, are we? So that was my journey to Tahiti. I know I was supposed to talk about Mary Monarch. That it was just fabulous too. Because Mary Monarch, it was so sweet. It was celebrating um, 60 years and 50 years of men dancing in the Mary Monarch. So we were part of the whole Ike that showcased men's halaus that participated at the opening of Mary Monarch. And of course, we were the last halau to present. The halau is the men of Waima Puna. Our kumu is Kumu Daralupe Nui. And my hula brothers that put this all together had arranged to have 135 men on the stage at one time. It was overwhelming. It was so fabulous. I said to him, I said, "You have honored Kumu very well by having all of those young men knowing that the men's hula is being perpetuated." So that was my Merry Monarch wonder that I wanted to share as well. So mahalo nui, everyone.
We're going to do offering, and we'll have a song from Kumu Keala.
Okay.
Yes, we shall.
Ike au
Here.
ua ike maua I kawehi o hualala. Kuahiri kukila kila Ike au o noani Wahine ilikea o kona O ke ala ke akua Ele papali No ko maua mau kino E como maua Iho o kena E ike I kapua naupaka Alaila I miloli I kalave mali e Ualohe mai ka himele E como maua Iho o kena E ike kapua naupaka Aloha kahale o ke kai Iwa ikini Iha me ke aloha Haina ka inoa O hualalai Kuahiri ku kila kila Wahine ilikea o kona Iha me ke aloha
Thank you so much, Keala Ching.
Oh, you're
Kumu
welcome.
Keala Ching.
Mahalo.
I got some announcements to make here, and you've heard all these, and I'll run through them in a nice way here. So coming up at New Thought Center of Hawaii, Sunday services are every Sunday at 10 o'clock, in person at our center, and by live stream with our beautiful tech team over here today. And the video's on YouTube afterwards. You can watch the video if you need to. There's free childcare, but you have to give a reservation by Friday. I think most of you guys have heard all these before, all that before. The next 3 Sundays, next Sunday is 6/7, Arliss Dudley Cash, and it's called Freedom from the Story, Compassion for the Self. And looks like music is by Mahina and Friends, so I guess I'll be here next Sunday too. I didn't know that. Now I know that. How it goes in the world when you're busy. 6/14 Sunday, it's Lee Niddle, Beyond Enlightenment, a Quantum Healing Journey into Vibrant Health and Radiant Aliveness. And music's by Chris Quinn or Biboda. 6/21 is Star Joyce, and that's Summer Solstice Ceremony. Pre-service drumming starts at 9:45. Weekly classes. You should join some weekly classes. Mondays, 4:30 to 5:30 is Jen Ann Wong, and she's teaching Tai Chi and Qigong, all levels. So good for your body and your mind. $15 per class. And there's a class tomorrow, June 1st. And there's not going to be any class for a couple of weeks. So you got to come tomorrow, Monday, if you want to get some Tai Chi and Qigong going in your body. And monthly events. One is of them today. Today is the end of the month potluck. Yes, thank you so much if you brought food, and there's food to be shared back there. Happening today, 5:31, And all of us that are here, you're welcome to stay for the food afterwards. Crystal Bowl meditation is the second Sunday. That's 9 to 9:30. And the next one's on 6/14, a couple of weeks from now. So that is Crystal Bowl meditation. Special events, Sunday, 5:31. There's a prayer team meeting today, and that's Arliss Dudley Cash. That's today at 5 to 6 p.m. That's prayer team. Okay. Sunday, 6:14 workshop is Lee Niddle, Bioenergetics, Basics, Teachings, and Practices. And that's going to be on the 6:14. That's going to be 1:30 to 4 on the lanai. And there's one of those deals where you pay money, sliding scale, $20 to $45. The next special event is going to be on Sunday, 6/28, about a month from now. You'll hear about it some more. And workshop Laura Reed. Wow, I know who she is. And she's really good. And she's all about story. Your story matters. Unleash the power of your voice. And that's 1 to 3:30 in the Hanua room. And suggested donation of $20. And I know Laura Reed has written a few books. And I think she lives over Honokaa side, if I'm not mistaken. So invitations. Do you have time, talent, or skills to share here at New Thought? Consider volunteering for New Thought Center. Sign up sheet on the table right over there near the entry to the lanai. Special needs, website related skills. We could use some painting and need some carpentry. And we have some good lay makers, but we always need more lay makers. Number 2, you can submit prayer requests to the New Thought Prayer Ministry. Written requests go in the wooden Honua box, which is right over there. And that's on Sundays. Email requests you can send to our email, and you can go on the web and look that up. And we'll tell you about what the email is too. And you can sign the guest book to get a weekly e-newsletter, or sign up via the website, www.newthoughtcenterofhawaii.com. And we don't have a closing prayer, so we're going to do the closing song. Hawaii Aloha. Anything anybody's got? Yes, Miss Pasha.
Kumu to make his announcement.
Oh, yes, his announcement. I'm so sorry. I knew I'd missed something. That's how it goes with me.
I don't have much announcements. I think most of our classes have now changed locations. So I think the best is to go on the website, NWIO website, Nava'i Iviola website. We have Hawaiian language classes at 6 at the Arizona State University building. It's right there by Tropics, that little oh gosh, it's a empty room where chairs and stuff, but that's where Arizona State University meets, in that area, down at the Keho Shopping Center, right next to Tropics. So we have class Hawaiian language. We're gonna go on a break and start July 13th. And then we're also doing hula awana over there at 4 o'clock. So it's not a hula kahiko anymore. So it's a hula Monday. Yeah, Monday. Check the website. And then we have hula kahiko for the community at the Hulihe'e Palace on Fridays from 4 o'clock to 5:30. We have the Under the New Moon at the Outrigger. They're at the poolside. That's going to happen on June 30th. So it's open to the public.
That's
Yeah.
a Tuesday night,
That's a Tuesday night.
like 5 o'clock to 6 or 4:30 to 6 or something.
5 to 6, yeah. And then my last announcement. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, Kumu Keala. Happy birthday to me. Tomorrow. But it's an announcement. Mahalo nui.
We had fun the other night. We were playing music, and we all jumped in together at the Outrigger. And all of a sudden, toward the end of the thing, you say, "Oh, some of my kid songs. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands." I was like, "Yeah."
And
there you
20
go.
minutes after, I was like, okay, I need to find a
Where's
entertainer.
Ramon?
Where is
Yeah,
he?
Where is he? He runs away from you. That's why he puts
He
you
runs
up.
away.
That's what he does.
Yes.
That's how he does business. All right.
All right. So we're going to get up.
We're going to get up and we're going to sing Hawaii Aloha. Come on, everybody.
Sorry, we didn't announce the second verse because
Thank you. Nice. It is.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Good job today. You told your stories in Tahiti very good. That was very good.
Oh,
Bye, Jeannie.
you're sticking around for lunch, aren't you? I did.
Yeah, beat me up.
You beat me up, Scotty.
Beat me up. You make beats.
Beets with pecan.
I can't remember how to end. Oh,
So
there it
there was
is.
some
There.
setting on your computer, right? So just remember to double check that, or I don't know what happened. But
You know what?